I thought it would be best if I showed you my room. This is my bedroom in my small apartment, and this is not the apartment that I came up with the idea from, but this is my current abode. One of the things that I've realized in the past year is that over the course of 2007 I felt I was working too hard for too little, and I wanted to make sure that I was getting enough rest. So I constructed this instead of a regular bedroom because I feel it kind of encapsulates a lot of my new ideas about what is important in the world. One of the things that Google has listed as its philosophy of life is instant gratification. But I think that delayed gratification is probably a better way of going about things, yet still maintaining that consumer culture mindset. And I think that that's really the part of this that is most disheartening, is that in our instant gratification world, we don't have a lot of the things that we really want. But I don't want to get too deep into that. I'd just like to talk a little bit about YouTube and why YouTube is my answer to the question posed to me in art school at Carnegie Mellon, which was, where is the next Warhol? In 2000, I was living in a house. Like a lot of people in college, it's cheaper to live with a bunch of people than on your own. And what I learned from that experience was that those experiences are indeed temporary. I haven't really achieved a lot of fiscal goals that I've set for myself. And I think that part of the reason is because I am so generous with my time and energy. I'm a very smart person. I rank in the super genius category of IQ. And when I went to Carnegie Mellon in 1996, I encountered a school that was changing very rapidly. In doing so, I found that there was a dilution in the population occurring slowly over the next few years, and I studied this change kind of as a hobby. I wasn't able to commit to the same schedule of working that other students were because I am not fiscally enabled. I wasn't a person who had a big trust fund, and I don't have a lot of financial backing from parental figures. The helicopter parents of today just aren't there in my life. And I think a lot of people who go to other schools that aren't quite as prestigious as Carnegie Mellon experience that similar to my experience. And those people usually go to larger schools where anonymity is easier to achieve. At Carnegie Mellon, I learned that Andy Warhol was one of the most famous people ever to leave the art school there. And they were putting a lot of pressure on art students to come up with ways to be the next Warhol. Since I'm not entirely like Andy, but from Pittsburgh, I am aware of Andrew Warhol and his name changing and his illustrious art career. His influence has been something pretty provocative in my life, and it's very difficult for me to understand some of the reasons behind the way that Hollywood functions and the way that the group functions because of my intelligence. My grandmother tells me that people like me are often people who are misunderstood, and that perhaps a side effect of my lifestyle or my upbringing or just my personality is that I am so generous with my ideas and perhaps don't protect myself enough in the interest of helping humanity, but sadly at the behest of people who capitalize off my ideas. I think that in a economic sense, I think in the economic sense there's a certain exploitation that occurs. And I think that in the case of Chad Hurley and Steve Chen and the others who have worked on the YouTube project, I certainly feel that they certainly deserve some sort of remuneration for their efforts. YouTube came from the inspiration of Andy Warhol's statement, "Everyone is guaranteed 15 minutes of fame, and that's it." It's interesting because YouTube doesn't really guarantee 15 minutes, and I think that it's certainly a worthwhile conduit. I think that Chris Crocker getting famous from YouTube is an example of people looking for an explanation for why this exists, and I think that people remember YouTube, or rather Warhol, as being the person to say that, but also that the people who have been attributed with most of the effort and who have contributed most of their own efforts are the ones who have made a substantial amount of money. Sergey Brin got in touch with me a few months ago, and I wasn't exactly happy when he called me, and I said some things to him that I don't necessarily regret, but I feel that we're only the tip of the iceberg as far as what I wanted to relate to him regarding the state of affairs that his contribution and Larry Page's contribution have made. And I think that the competition that's in the tech business kind of creates a paradigm of exploitation started by some of the software people, well, specifically Bill Gates, back in the 70s when he stole MS-DOS from another author, is an example of how people don't look at science as art, and people certainly wouldn't want to steal your art. I think copyrights are a big issue in art. But in the same way, I think ideas and contributions that people make over the phone and on websites that are done through surveys, you know, my degree is in a related field to that. I mean, I have an art minor, but I'm also involved in the science of human-computer interaction, and a lot of that depends upon user input. And I think that users who contribute in a way that changes or alters the course of a company should reap the benefits of that. And at the current stage of the world's maturity in this matter, there really isn't a lot of remuneration paid to those who contribute to software companies.